Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tommy Marks. I am the Vice President of Council Engagement for the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council. On behalf of our President, Sharon R. Pender, who is not able to be with us today, she normally gives you a lead in. I want to welcome you to the third in a series of our AI topics. This is brought by the Small Business Administration, a grant that provides this, able us to provide this training. And they say our project is called the Pathways to Emerging Markets for Socially and Economically Disadvantaged Entrepreneurs. And so the federal government has seen fit to provide the funding so that we can provide this training. And so one of the key things is that it aims to transform the foundation of our state and local economies to be organically inclusive for communities and people of color who historically have been relegated to being spectators when it comes to their involvement in emerging markets. So our goal is to educate and support these businesses about emerging markets and to provide the resources and tools to incorporate this knowledge into their business into your business planning. Ultimate goal would be to develop new businesses that or growth in existing businesses in emerging markets, such as chips, manufacturing, artificial intelligence, which is what the topic is today, and cybersecurity. And we've enlisted the services of Ms. Agnes Kabribi, and I'm probably mispronounced it, and she will school me later. But this is her third session with two more to follow over the next 2 months. And we'll talk about those later. But today's topic that Agnes is going to talk to us about is AI as a business infrastructure and the AI that talks to your customers. And in addition to that, she's got a special guest that she'll introduce later that will help us through this as she gives her presentation today. Agnes?
Thank you so much, Tommy. Excited to be here again. For those of you who weren't here last time, I am a AI practitioner and also a lifelong technologist. I've been in technology my whole career. I hesitate to say the number because you might figure out how old I am. But I'm also very passionate about problem solving and excited to be here to show you how I apply AI to my business, but also this topic, which is near and dear to most of our hearts, how to make AI sound like you. So just to kick this off, the topic is AI that talks to your customers. And part of why I'm excited about this is there is only one you. So you're unique in the experiences that you bring, in what you've seen throughout your life and the skills that you have. And without this secret sauce, AI is just generic. So in this session, we're going to look at how you infuse some of who you are into the AI prompts and the things that you do so that when AI reaches out to your customers, it sounds like you. And that's really important because then it makes you stand out, as well as several other things. So before we get going, I'd like to do a quick poll. Angel, I don't know if you can cue that up. And my question is, have you ever read something that you made with AI and felt like it didn't sound like you? I can't really see. Hopefully people are voting. Let me know if I need to do anything else, Angel.
And at the moment, we have 11 of 17 people that have voted thus far. I'll go ahead and end the poll because we're at 34 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so most of you have used AI to generate something and then looked at it afterwards and didn't feel like it sounded like you. So what we're going to do in this session, and this is a quite an expansive topic, but in this session, we're going to give you some tips and tricks and things to think about so that whenever you're using AI for outbound communication with your customers, it sounds more like you. Okay, so in session 2, we set up a brief. And for those of us who went in session 2, brief stands for background, role, instructions, expectation, and follow-up. And this is essentially how you construct a prompt that gives either ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini enough information to understand you so that it's able to produce even better outputs for you. And we saw how you could use it to create PowerPoint slides, LinkedIn posts, and even emails. So today we're going to talk about further enhancing this so that it sounds more like you and less generic. So in these 90 minutes or so, we're going to start off with understanding why AI sounds generic and why this is a risk to your business. Then we're going to talk about what a narrative is and why this is valuable to you. And in this section, I'll introduce you to Alexandra, who's going to walk through a narrative. And then we're going to see that narrative in action because we're going to show you how to incorporate it into your story. And we're going to demo this again in Claude, but this would work in any AI tool so that you can see the before and after. Okay, the first topic, as I said, we're going to talk about is the default voice and really understanding why AI sounds the way it does when you don't do anything additional. Example, putting in a narrative. As we saw last time, you can very quickly generate output that you push out to your customers. I've used AI to create websites, emails, posts, PowerPoint presentations, pretty much anything you can think about. AI could quickly generate the text and the content that then ends up in front of your customers. Okay. And the thing we said last time as well was once you put something out there, it is attributed to you, right? So essentially AI is writing in your name. And you want to make sure that it sounds like you because at this point it's speaking for you. And so the big question to wonder, if you did nothing but accept what it gave you, then whose voice is it using? Okay. And the answer is it's using a default or a most common voice. If you remember at the start when everyone was just getting familiar with generative AI and some of what we were hearing, the way it was trained was by scraping whatever was on the web at the time, whatever was on the internet. Plus, there were some decisions made about which books to feed in into it, which movies. And essentially, those decisions were made by a group of people, and they might not represent your voice exactly. So it might not reflect your culture, your community, especially if you're underrepresented in the training data. And so by using the default, what's missing is you, essentially the essence of you, your heritage, your community, the way you talk, and the people you serve. And I take this to heart because, as you can hear and see, I'm a Black woman, and I was born in Africa and now live in Baltimore. So I have, I would say I'm different from the default, and it's very important to me to make sure that when I'm being represented by AI, it sounds more like me than what is the default. The other thing that's happening is there is a lot of content being generated, as we spoke about earlier, because literally in 2 minutes you can create a post, and if you've linked Canva to your LinkedIn or even ChatGPT or Claude, that post can be out in seconds. And so what is happening? I don't know if you've heard the term AI slop, but there is a lot of generic information out there, and platforms like LinkedIn are finding it's hard to distinguish the value from the noise. And so actually there is an effort to reduce generic sounding posts and really focus on content that's polished and um, uh, adds value to the readers of the post. Okay, and you can see here a quote from a VP at LinkedIn. The ultimate value comes from the human behind the tool. Your customers want to engage with you and they want to engage with your brand, not a generic sounding LinkedIn. So at this point, I'll pause and see if there's any questions before I continue. Latoya and Angel, are there any questions in the chat?
Not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, and this is the biggest risk, right? AI is a powerful tool, and you keep hearing that AI won't take your job, but someone using AI will. And so it's being heavily adopted across our society and across our businesses. And the risk is if we all just accept the default version of output that it gives us, then we all start to sound the same. And what is now happening because of all of the sameness and all of the slop, what is being realized is that people are engaging more with posts that have a more distinctive human voice over generic posts. And sort of an analogy to life, the best version of what you produce is the thing that is you. If you're trying to imitate someone else, you're always going to be a poor imitation. But if you can capture the essence of who you are and tap into that, then you become more valuable in what you do. And so the same applies here. If AI is table stakes, then the thing that distinguishes you is sounding like yourself. Latoya and Angel, just stop me if there's any questions or if people have any thoughts.
I gotcha.
Okay, so moving into this next part, how do you put yourself back in, right? AI can do many things, but it can't get into your brain. It can't understand how you experience the world, and it can't understand how you process knowledge and what makes you authentic to your customers. So, and actually, what's happening now, even in Silicon Valley, is storytelling is becoming more valuable again. So, things are swinging a bit in full circle. We thought AI was going to replace everything, and then we took too much out, and now we realize we can't replace the actual human. And people that are good at telling stories, especially about individuals or brands, are becoming a lot more valuable in Silicon Valley, for example. And I'm fortunate enough that I've met a person that has helped me with my story and my business narrative and my brand. And I'm excited to introduce you to Alex. And she brings nearly 15 years of experience shaping stories across newsrooms, federal and public affairs. And I'm delighted to introduce her to you today. And Alex is going to tell us a bit about herself, and then we're going to dive into her methodology for creating stories.
Thank you, Agnes.
You're welcome.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alexandria Barnes. As Agnes said, I'm founder of AV Narrative Studio, and my work is TV journalism, public affairs, branding, communications. And I'm really passionate about helping you all, executives, CEOs, small business owners, organizations, really figure out what to say about yourselves or your company before you have to say it to anyone else, including AI, right? So I've had a front row seat to how AI has changed the way we write. It's changed the way we think about writing. And most importantly, it's changed the way customers experience us. So when your customers see you, like in a post or an email or a proposal, you want them to recognize you. You want them to feel like they're hearing from you, not AI or a template. So that's why I'm here today. Go to the next slide. So I want to start off by taking a moment to separate narrative from storytelling from credentials. They're not quite the same thing, but they do kind of work together. And once you see how they work together, it makes everything you write and put into your ChatGPT or your Claude or your Gemini so much easier. So on here, we say narrative is the belief you want your customers to hold about you. Storytelling is how you deliver that belief, and credentials tell people what you've done and what you can do. So oftentimes when you're writing one of those posts using AI or developing a proposal, you may start with your credentials, but that's not what we want to do. And I'm still a believer that that should not be our main goal. We want to write with our narrative. Narrative is going to tell people why you matter, who you serve, and why you are the one to deliver what you deliver. AI cannot invent your narrative. So once you have a very strong narrative, a very strong foundation, AI will get it in front of the right people. That's the way how I'm really want to kind of stress today. Once you have your narrative, once we've invented it, because we have to do it, AI will do what it needs to do to massage it and give you the ideas to get it in front of folks. AI can only amplify what you give it. So if you're giving it your credentials, it's going to give you your well-deserved and well-earned credentials and make it very glorified. So it cannot give you the meaning that, you didn't provide it if you're starting with your credentials. And that's not how customers connect with us. They connect to our meaning and our mission and our narrative. So as Agnes has been teaching us in today's session, AI is going to default to the most common pattern it's seen. And for us as minority-owned businesses, that default, it does not reflect how we speak, how we talk, how we earn trust, or how our customers are actually going to relate to us. And the more I've used AI, I've learned this actually isn't a flaw for AI. This is just a gap it's been given. It's not a flaw. So we're actually here today to kind of change that. But yes, AI cannot invent your narrative. It's going to get you where you need to go, though. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. So when you're giving AI your story, your tone, your experience, your challenges, your successes, your wins, and even your boundaries, what you receive back will change. The AI will become more specific and more aligned with how your customers receive you and hear you. So on here, before you ever actually write a prompt, these are some 4 questions that really are your foundation to developing a very, very strong narrative. It's kind of like the raw material AI needs to sound like you. The first one is, who do you serve? And be specific. A lot of times when we're doing like our elevator pitches or when people ask, who's your audience or who you selling to, you may say, oh, I sell to everyone or I sell to small businesses. But when you're thinking about your narrative, the more specific you are about who you serve, the more specific and grounded your voice will become using your AI of choice. And also something I've learned, oops. Yes, thank you. AI may try to guess and tell you your audience. You have to tell it who your audience is and don't let AI take control of this particular response to this question. So second is, what changes for them because of your work? This is kind of like the heart of your narrative. Agnes and I talked about this a few months ago. As business owners, we're not the heroes. Our customers are the heroes. Your narrative starts with the shift they experience, not necessarily always your list of services. Always think about your customers as your heroes. Thirdly, what do you want, or I'm sorry, what do you know that others in your space do not? It's kind of like your bread and butter where you can kind of toot your horn. This is really where your differentiation lives. You kind of find the answer to this third question by listening for the thing a customer has said about you or your work that your competitors may not necessarily deliver or just choose not to for whatever reason. That's really where your most distinctive language will show up in your narrative. And most people really don't realize they already have that differentiation piece. It's just more so thinking about what have your customers told you? What have you seen in your surveys or what feedback have you gotten that can be implemented and put inside your narrative to give to AI? And then fourth, what do you want to be known for? This is where your tone and identity really come in. You want to pay attention to how people describe you when they're not trying to sound formal, or what I like to tell AI is explain this to me like I'm talking to someone at a networking mixer or professionals happy hour. That version is almost always more compelling than like the polished one that AI will give you. You really want it to be rooted in plain language, so you can feed that into AI. So when you answer these four questions and put them into your AI model, you'll see a difference. I do want to pause for questions regarding narrative.
So, Alex, I have a question.
Mhm.
Um, how how long would you say a good narrative is? Like, if I wanted to develop a really decent document for my AI tool so that it speaks like me for my customers, is there like is there a way I know that I've produced enough information for it to represent me accurately?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely want to try to make sure when you're especially answering these questions here, you want to make sure that you have enough rooted information and enough grounded information to maybe get you about a document that's maybe like a page long, like a Word document that's about a page long. You don't necessarily have to write your answers for each one to fill it, but you want to make sure that AI has enough information of your origin, of what makes you stand out in your field or your work. What is your edge or your edge to your competition, and kind of more thinking about your legacy. What do you want to be known for? If you really answer those questions, your narrative will really sound like you and it'll be solid and you'll be able to use it multiple ways.
And just to piggyback off that, so for everyone who's been attending the previous two sessions, this is like an extended background. So you could
Mhm.
either incorporate this into the background part of your brief, or what I like to do is have a separate document and just put the generic stuff in my background, and then in the instructions, tell it to refer to the narrative as well, because the narrative can grow as you do,
Mhm.
and it can change. And so if you have a document, you can always unplug it, um, replace it with an up-to-date document, or modify the document much easier than always going back to the project instructions and changing the background.
Absolutely. Yeah, your narrative is, while it's like a source of truth for you, it can be updated and evolve because we evolve as business owners. Next slide. Or any more questions?
There are no questions in the chat at the moment.
I've got the next slide queued up for you, Alex.
Okay. So here is where the methodology of those four questions really comes to life. I worked on Jasmine's narrative with Agnes ahead of today. And I kind of really we both want to show you that we didn't make Jasmine more interesting than she really is. What we did was just kind of really played into who she is as a person, as a business owner, and just really listened to what was already there and then put it into AI so that AI could generate these two various narratives. So the first narrative is the positioning narrative. It says Jasmine, she works with frontline and hourly workers who miss out on benefits because no one explained them to her clearly. And what makes her credible is not just her 12 years of experience or her certifications in HR. It's really that she has proximity to the people she serves. She's sitting where they're sitting. And that is a narrative right there. Credentials are not going to tell you that part about her. The second part is her personal narrative. So she's part of this sandwich generation where she's caring for her aging parents and she's also raising her own children at the same time. So when she writes about caregiving and HR in her business, she's not theorizing this. She's one of them. And that experience, that lived experience, her season right now changes her narrative and her voice entirely. So both narratives on this slide are rooted in who Jasmine is from a positioning standpoint and a personal standpoint, but they both come from the same set of facts that Agnes provided about Jasmine. They just open up like a different door into Jasmine's voice. And so the point that I really want to drive home here is AI cannot create your narratives. It has to come only from you. Only you can use what it gives you. And so once we added Jasmine's narrative into her AI model, Claude, her entire story changed. Any questions?
Yes, we currently have 2 questions in the Q&A. So one says, this is from Erica Bourne. Are you using a specific format for the supplemental document? Example, text value pairs or just a narrative, etc.
Yes, I do have a set of questions, especially when I'm kind of consulting about narratives and what should go into a narrative and what will make a narrative really stand out to customers to bring in revenue or donors, and so forth. So, yes, there is kind of a method to developing a narrative, but do believe those 4 questions in the slide earlier are really your foundation to where you can make this happen today, where you can develop your narrative today by just answering those questions and putting it into your choice of your AI model.
And just to build on that, a large language model can consume either. The thing to think about is, one, it has to be a document that's easily accessible to you, especially if you're going to update it. So the way I use it is I put it in my project files, and then whenever I need to do a new narrative, I just replace the file with a new one, and I just do a straightforward Word document with headings.
Okay.
That works. Yep.
And we now have 2 more questions. This question is for Alex. It says, I love using Claude. And I'm sorry, this is from Crystal Smith. I love using Claude, but I notice as you put your info in, the letter or correspondence to a client or customer becomes longer, and most people's attention spans aren't long. How do we get Claude to mention the things that are most important or we think are most important during this correspondence without losing the client in the read?
Yeah, I'll go back to what Agnes, Agnes, I'll also let you chime in as well. You want to give Claude some rules, some boundaries, and some instructions. And if you say, hey, 2 to 3 sentences max, or 3 paragraphs max, and don't use bullets or use bullets, more white space, you definitely want to, you can tell Claude that and actually make it a set rule so that you're not running into those longer, glorious, as I call them, outputs from AI.
And just to chime in, what I find, especially if I ask Claude to help me write an email, it will give me 2 versions. So I did that today actually before this meeting, and it gave me a warm and friendly version, which was a bit longer. And then it also gave me a direct version. So a combination of the instructions. And sometimes when it's gone a bit crazy, I always go back to it and say, could you please be more concise? The other thing, as you'll see next week when we do the strategizing, you want it to be your thought partner, but you always want to be in the driving seat. And so maybe the first output it produces is too lengthy. You then might want to step back with it and say, okay, this is how I want the customer to feel when they get this email. This is what I think is important. What do you think? Or what would be the best way to structure all of this information so that I don't lose my customer? And then that way you're both refining each other's understanding and you get a better output from Claude.
Okay, and we have the last question. This is from Canovia. Do you use both positioning and personal, or pick one based on your business or audience?
Really flexible. And it really does depend on the brand. I've used personal for like my About Me page, or for someone I'm working with on a narrative for their About Me page specifically, or if they're like preparing for a topic that's a little bit more lifestyle and personal for like a podcast, for example. A personal one could definitely be used in those ways. And for positioning, I think that can be used across the board. You can use positioning in your personal brand or your business brand, because it's going to capture your origin, your positioning, and also, those credentials that we talked about that we don't want to lead with, but it will capture that. And you want people to feel like you're a credible business owner in your industry, and build that authority. So both can be used different ways. It's really just kind of what your goal is and what your audience needs from you, or your customers need from you. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, that's all the questions at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much, Alex. Now we're going to continue this discussion with actually showing you how Jasmine voice shows up after we have added those two narratives to her story. Okay, so in the first one, this is bridging the benefits gap for hourly employees. And I'm going to now switch to Claude so that you can see both the before and after. Okay. So this is Jasmine's Claude, and remember we had set up her HR business assistant before. So we have her brief already included at the high level on the project. And so now I came in here and I asked her to write a LinkedIn post for her firm, and talk about why hourly employees use benefits at far lower rates than other employees. Okay. What I'm going to do, and let me make this a bit bigger, is I'm going to show you this post. I maybe made it too big. And then we're going to look at the narrative. And then I'm going to come back with Alex and we're going to digest both. So the first thing, because we don't have the narrative or any context, it looks like a pretty decent post, right? A company offers solid benefits, a good plan, etc., right? Pretty generic. And it pulled both from her brief and because it's an expert in HR, I think we had said that in a brief. I don't remember, but anyway, it pulled a decent amount of information, and this looks like something you could post and look credible. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the brief. And at this point, I'm going to ask Alex to walk us through the brief. See if I can make it a bit bigger. And Alex, I'm going to scroll slowly and you just let me know when you want me to move forward or slow down.
Yeah, so we can start at the origin. That's really where you're thinking about who you are and what you're bringing to the table. So while Jasmine has been in this has had this company for 12 years and is very well versed in HR and consulting and change management, and she understands benefits and pay, all those credentials, right? This is a good opportunity to kind of put this information, tell AI exactly those type of things about you so we can deliver exactly what will make you stand out, but still is rooted into who you are as a business owner. And then talks a little bit about the handbook group. So, when you're thinking about that positioning versus the personal narrative, the handbook group is her business. So that's kind of more what is positioning her to be selected as the best for this particular for her HR work. So it lets you know the handbook group is this is the name of the company, the size of the company, who she works with, and just really telling it plainly exactly what the company does, and period, just kind of leaving it there. But it's enough richness in there to where AI can pull from it and know this is her background and this is how it can be used in certain ways. And then brand positioning is it's definitely more of, again, some of those questions in the template, the 4 questions of what's going to make you stand out, where you're thinking about what have my customers said that have made me feel good as a business owner, has that they've wanted to relate to others, to as referrals, to bring other people in as potential clients, and just really thinking about exactly what makes you different and what makes you stronger than your competitors. That brand positioning statement is what's going to tie your messaging into more like your marketing and your branding. And then the what guides the work, and the what shifts. So again, kind of going back to those 4 questions, this is kind of what's driving you, what's making you want to keep your business going, what's making you want to not give up. We know business can be challenging at times, and we have slow months and months that really pick up. But what's really guiding you? Um, and what do you want people to understand about who you are as a business owner? And then the what shifts, how do employees or your customers receive you when you've delivered your services or your products to them? And then your payoff is kind of more so about how do you feel as a business owner specifically? And so when you're done delivering your product or your service, how do you feel as, the owner or a leader in your organization? So you kind of put all those together, and this is a really good, strong way to develop narrative to put into AI.
Thank you, Alex. Just to piggyback on top of that, we already have a brief at the project level. And think about, and this is also something that I would normally put at a project level, and it would be a project document. And the way I like to think about it is the brief is the framework for all of the interactions that you'll have with AI. And it's mostly static information, whereas the narrative adds richness. And the narrative is the things that shift and that can change, even though the brief might. But that's how I think about it in my head is this adds the richness. This is the thing that I would update as I grow. And the brief provides the structure for my project. Okay, and as I said, I pasted it in here for the purposes of this demo because I wanted to show you a before and after, but you would usually have this as a .md file, a text file, or a Word document, and you would paste it into the project files. And actually, a text file or an MD document is much better than a Word document because it's easier for the LLM to digest. But either
Thank
of them would work.
you. I didn't know that, Agnes.
I'm glad I gave you a tip. Okay, so then I pasted it in, and I just asked it to rerun the previous prompt bearing this in mind. Okay. And so now I want to show you. So Alex, how do you want to do this? Because I really want to be able to draw out the contrast of what happened. Do you want me to go back to the first one or show this one and then go back to the first one?
Yeah, we can start with the first one of what it kind of looks like
Before.
when you have really thought about the story you want to tell and the narrative you want your customers to feel about you. I think the first version before you've put Jasmine's narrative in, I think it really does a good job at just kind of naming the issue she addresses, caregiving and benefits access. Think it's, first reasonable question to HR leaders for them to think about. Don't think it does a good job at showing Jasmine about the caregiving side and how that season in her life really impacts her work and how she interacts with clients and organizations, employees. And I don't think it really shows just really like her voice, and showing that her voice actually matters. That's something that's important, especially as minority business owners. Voice matters. And if AI is not capturing that, we need to fix that. So it's kind of like the default voice of, what AI will actually give you. It's good, but it's very generic. And then her competitors can say something very similar.
Indeed. And what the earlier slide said was, if you use the default voice, it's talking about your customers, not to them.
Mhm.
So this is
Yeah.
very, okay. So now let's move to the next one.
You see a lot more I in here. So it's really explaining how she touches the work and why she does this work. It's bringing her caregiver identity to life. It's bringing some freshness and color to that emotional reality of navigating benefits when you need it and necessarily can't find the information or reach the right person. But it really speaks to her as a caregiver while also still running the handbook group, but not necessarily about caregivers in general. It's more so really her personal story. And as you mentioned, Agnes, it does kind of shift from me to them to, your customers. Like, this is who she is, and this is why she would be the best for her consultating HR services. And that's the whole point.
Exactly. And in this one, because she's been an hourly worker herself, it's teasing out some of the personal information, people who are working nights, who don't have access to the company email, um, people who have moved because they're a bit transient. And it feels more like she's talking to them because she's walked in their shoes versus the other one where she was talking about them and um, in the third person.
Mhm.
Okay, we have one more example. So this, just to remind you, Alex, this was the positioning one,
Okay.
that first narrative that we did. And then now we're going to move into the second one, which we talked about, which was the caregiving one. And this is the one where she puts a bit more of herself into the narrative.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, to tee this up, another very short prompt, because remember, we have our brief that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. She wants to write about supporting employees who are caregivers. And in this case, she wants to do a LinkedIn post. The other thing I'll say is it probably picked up on the positioning stuff from the earlier chat because I had done that one first. So you see a bit more I in here, and that's probably why. But anyway, so this is the first iteration of that output.
And
And
that's
then,
a good thing. That's why you want to put your narrative into AI. It can remember. It's
Mhm.
supposed to remember. It is trying to do that to build off of the memory from previous conversations. So this one is even stronger, even before you put the official narrative into this thread. But I do see it's still a little generic without the narrative being placed inside of it. It's it's pretty much giving you exactly what AI will give you when it already knows like your job title and a couple of facts about you. I still think this could be anyone's post. Um, yeah, just looking at it.
I
But it's
think
a
it's
strong
doing
social media post.
yeah, it's doing a pretty good job with the positioning, which would
Hmm.
track, seeing as we gave it the positioning narrative, you know. What I've found in 12 years of this work, so sort of credentializing her as well. Okay. Now we have, this is the, I forget the names of the version, but this is the more personal narrative.
The same narrative. Okay.
Indeed. So now this is the one that we did with the caregiver lens on Jasmine. The sandwich generation one, Alex.
Hmm. It's showing the narrative, not the post right now.
Oh yeah, because we're gonna walk through the narrative and then we're gonna go show
Okay.
the other post.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, so definitely want to make sure, when you're thinking kind of more about your personal one, that you're describing yourself, and not always your customer. Because when you put that into AI, that's going to come from your voice, not from, someone, maybe one of your marketing reps or your sales rep. It's going to actually sound like you when you put a little bit more of your personal story and using that personal lens, to help bring your origin and your brand positioning and what shifts to life and give it that color. And it's less about your job title and your facts, but it's really about your season or previous season. And then also allows you to kind of manifest a little bit into what you want your legacy to be or what you want your customers to really feel on more of an emotional resonance or an emotional level.
And I can see
But
even how
it's
that's reflected in the brand positioning, because
mhm.
wellness is how it talks here about the difference between compliance and wellness, and then it injects a bit more of Jasmine's personal perspective into there as well.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like a question popped in.
There was a question.
So there's a question from Crystal Smith. Well, she says she's not sure if this is a question. I mean, if this question has been asked or answered at this time. But where's the information being stored? Who else has access, and how far should we go as far as inputting personal information into cloud or other AI systems? How do we protect our information?
So we did speak about this a bit last time. There is a setting in your Claude where you can explicitly tell it not to train the model. And then the other thing I would say is um, definitely do not put your PII in here. Don't put your social security number or your EIN number or deep financial information in here. Claude, the information is stored on their server, and if you've said for them not to train on your material, it should stay on the server, and they have an extensive policy that you can read about privacy. But yes, it's living in another place other than your personal machine. But the thing to say is this information is also even if you had it on your machine and you wrote a LinkedIn post based on it, or you updated your website based on it, the representation of you is out in the world anyway, right? So you have to decide for yourself the trade-off. If you're going to use this tool to represent you in the world, it's going to put stuff out there anyway. And this is a way of you having more control on what gets out there. But again, what I would say is definitely make sure you're not training the model, and don't put anything that for your clients that would be subject to an NDA, unless you're very careful, and any PII or that kind of information. Hopefully that answered the question. Okay, Alex, were you ready to move on from the narrative to the revised post?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's definitely describing herself as a caregiver. Um, just the tone in this version versus the last version, it's definitely more personal. It even starts with, this is very personal to me. You can you can give Jasmine literally a voice right here. Like you're talking to her again at like a networking happy hour or a networking mixer. It's really showing that caregiving has impacted her and taught her a lot, and it really brings her closer to the problem. And it translates well into the HR industry when she's working with um, other with HR directors and her clients and other executives, because she can pull from a place where she's connected to the topic, and it shows compassion and empathy, which is what we all kind of want out of HR, especially when you need it, when you need your benefits, or you're trying to find something after an incident has happened. You want to have that urgency and that emotion that can come across as you're approachable. And I think in this post, it did a really good job capturing um, all of her experiences and not just her job title and a couple of facts that she put into AI.
And just to draw some contrasts, in the previous one, we had the positioning information, right? So we had the fact that she's talking to her 12 years of experience. And in here, you see her connect that to her personal side as well, right? That in the 12 years that she's worked, she's identified the gap, which is people don't know what they're entitled to or don't believe they're allowed to use it. And the paragraph above, it also talks about more deeply. It's the fact that you're so busy caregiving, you don't then also have time to go and decode a system that wasn't designed to be decoded quickly. So I think this is a more resonant post than the last one. Alex, did you want to add anything else before we jump back?
No, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, thank you. Okay, so just to recap, we did two demos, two examples. We did the benefits gap, where we used the positioning narrative, and we saw the two posts and what Jasmine was able to unlock in that once we added the narrative. And then we did the more personal one about the sandwich generation, and we were able to see that as well. Okay, so the thing that changed, we have the same scaffolding in our project, right? So we still had the brief that we did last time, with her background and everything else, but we introduced a narrative that talked about things from her perspective, and it gave some specifics. You know, the fact that she is caring for her parents while raising children, the fact that she herself used to be an hourly worker. And then we also fleshed out her voice, and we saw how these come through in the output. And I'll say this is just a taster. If you work for some of the larger organizations, their brand and their voice is many-paged document. And what I can see happening even with my business is, as I add more products, as I discover more things, as I reach out to different segments, the narrative document not only grows, but evolves. So this should be something that lives in your organization and continues to grow, and also gives AI the opportunity to learn you so that it gets better and better at representing you to your customers. And the other big thing to say, if you use the guide that Alex just provided and the 4 questions, it makes it less daunting, right? The beautiful thing about AI for small businesses is the accessibility of it. The fact that you can take the brief and the 4 questions that Alex gave us today, and tomorrow go out and write yourself a prompt and a quick narrative and immediately see an improvement in your business. What I would say to do, and what I still do, is I always read even the final version or what it thinks is a final version, and I'll go in and I'll update it like we did last time to really make it sound like myself. And then I always paste it back in to say, this is the final version I used. And then over time, you could actually ask it to help you improve your narrative based on all of the changes that you have asked it to make, so that it truly becomes a living document and a reflection of yourself. Okay, and a quick recap. You already have the brief from last week. Now we talked about how to add your narrative to it. And we have Alex's studio guide, the 4 questions, and some of the prompts that we used. So you're able to take this away with you and start on Monday to try this in your business. Do we have any questions?
So there's one question from Canovia. I see these phrases often in LinkedIn posts. To quote, what I found in 12 years of this work, the gap almost never trails off. And to quote, that's the question worth sitting with this week, end quote. How can we get AI to stay away from this type of language?
Yeah, so that would be an extended, so there are several sources online where people have studied AI in depth and have distilled out some of the phrases, like the things that you said. There's also the rule of 3. It always does 3 things at once, or it does a negative to prove a positive. What I have for myself is an anti-AI writing guide, I call it, where as I'm noticing things, as I'm researching for myself, the things that make it sound like AI, I've started to put those in my own guide that I also attach to the project, and give it those instructions as well. So, as I say, this is just a brief introduction, but there's a lot more to making it sound like you and making it sound less like AI. Hopefully that answered your question. And just to recap, what I do in a separate document is I have a how not to sound like AI, or maybe that's controversial, things that I don't want you to say in a separate document. And I'm cataloging all of these things that I'm finding that make it sound like AI and putting it in there. And then in my brief, the instructions, I tell it specifically to refer to that document when writing posts that are going to be external, so that it avoids some of these common patterns that you're talking about. Any more questions?
That's all the questions at the moment.
Thank you. Okay, so that was the end of our content for today. AI that talks to your customers. I hope you found it useful, and thank you again so much, Alex, for coming today and walking us through your methodology. Hopefully people found that useful. Next time, we're going to be talking about AI that thinks with you. So this is more the thought partner and the strategic piece to AI. And we're going to be building on these building blocks. So you'll have your brief, you'll have your narrative. And thank you so much, Kanobia, for your question. The what not to write object as well, that seems to be its own session. and then bringing all those into a project, and now starting to use AI as your strategic guide to help you actually on your business. Looking into your competitors is something that is very interesting and easy to do now with AI, helping you think through your go-to-market strategy, right? Helping you understand, how to position your product, several things that you can do strategically. So we're going to talk a bit more about that next time, so that you're using both the tactical side and the tactical benefits of AI, but now introducing a layer of strategic benefits as well. And I always end with a bit about me. So this is me. I run experTribe, and I've also built a product that uses AI to help people find grants and write the first draft for them. And you can find me in both of these places. And then I will shift back to Alex for a second. And Alex, you can talk a bit about you as well.
Okay, I'm back. Yes, so please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, I shall say, these days, and just learn more about narrative development and strategic communications. I would love to connect with you all and just kind of talk about how we can bring your story to life that will bring some more customers, and customers will lead to revenue. So the QR code is there. It will lead directly to my website, abnarrativestudio.com. So feel free to send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to present and talk about narratives and AI and how to make them work together for our businesses. To you.
I also want to say a very, very big thank you to the CRMSDC. Thank you, Tommy, for being such a gracious host. Thank you to the Small Business Administration for funding this series and making it possible. Once again, thank you to Alex, and thank you so much to everyone that attended. I'm looking forward to seeing you in July.
Thanks, Agnes. Thanks very much. And Alexandria, a great session. I see nothing but positive comments coming into the chat area there. So again, I want to thank everybody on behalf of our President Sharon R. Pender for attending. As I close out, some reminders. Agnes has 2 more sessions, July the 16th, as she stated, AI that thinks with you. And then on August the 20th, there is the Build Your AI System. We also will, beginning Tuesday, the 23rd, and June the 23rd, and it's not too late to register. The CMMC, which is I've drawn a blank, but it is the cybersecurity maturity model that is required in all contracts if you're dealing with the federal government, and in the commercial industry is also going to those to that requirement. We have a gentleman, one of our MBEs, that will be presenting for that beginning Tuesday, the 23rd of June. And also then there's three sessions, the 23rd of July and then the 26th of August. And you get this information be provided to you. But registration is open for all the courses, the sessions that you see there. And you can go to our website at www.crmsdc.org/media, and you can register at any time for all the remaining 5 sessions, that the topics that we're talking about. We also have one of our major events comes September the 14th is our annual golf tournament, and it is a business networking event, and with corporate sponsors, corporate members that are part of our council, along with some of our MBEs. And you don't have to be certified by us to attend the golf tournament, you can sign up and come out there and enjoy yourself. Also in September, the date hasn't been set yet, but annually led by our president, there's a day on the Hill, Washington, D.C., where council presidents get together, and there's 23 of our councils under the National Minority Supply Development Council. And they come to D.C. and they get with legislators and spend a day on Capitol Hill, focusing on things that affect the entrepreneurs in this community. And then we end the year with our annual business meeting in December, and that is typically held somewhere in the DMV, and it's open to the public also. You don't have to be a certified member to attend. So again, we thank you, and on behalf of the SBA for providing the funding for us to be able to do this, to share. We look forward to seeing you in the coming months. Thanks.